The silent ones in the static. Narrator, let me tell you about the worst mistake I ever made. Not some cursed relic from a haunted asylum, just a dusty old tape from a failed local TV station. Channel 317. The kind of place that aired public access horror shows and used car commercials. At least, that's what I thought until I pressed play. The label said do not play past 3:17 a.m. and friends. I wish I'd listened. Act 1. The first playback. The tape was part of a batch ID board off. Even dozens of unmarked broadcasts from the 80s. My channel needed fresh material, and Lost TV horror hosts swore hard right now. This one featured a guy named Marshall Kane. Cheap Suit. The kind of show that got cancelled after 6 episodes. Tonight's feature is The Blood Waltz, Marshall announced to his non-existent audience. A film so terrifying, the director disappeared during editing. Standard schlock until 3 minutes and 17 seconds in. Marshall kept talking, but his reflection in the studio monitor stopped moving, just stood there, grinning like it knew a secret. Then its lips kept moving after Marshall stopped. I hit pause. The tape kept playing. You shouldn't be watching this, whispered a voice that wasn't Marshall's. Wasn't human, but now that you have, we can see it too. Act 2 at the station. I had to know more, but the station WQRI had been shut down in '87. Electrical fire, the newspaper said. When I broke into the abandoned building, the smell of burnt plastic still hung in the air. The control room was frozen in time, coffee cups still on desks, a production calendar stuck on October 1987, and on every monitor that same test pattern. We'll live in 317 minutes. Marshall's last journal entry explained everything. The tapes were just the beginning. They're coming through the spaces between frames now. The silence between words. I tried to warn them, but the signal's already out there, playing in empty houses, waiting for new eyes. Then I found the shelf. Dozens of unlabeled tapes, all dated ... in the future. The first showed me dying in a car crash next Tuesday. The second, my obituary. The third was just 17 hours of static ... with something moving in the snow. Act 3, the broadcast. I did something stupid. I streamed the tape live on my channel. Thought maybe someone could explain it. The comments rolled in. Who's the figure behind you? My TV won't turn off after watching this. The static just said my name. Then the phone rang. The station's old landline, dead for 30 years. It was me on the line. From tomorrow, they're using the tapes to cross over. Don't let them finish the broad when I analyzed the spectrogram. The truth was there, hidden in the noise and image of my YouTube channel. Subscriber count 317,000. I have 3,170. Closing narrator. So here's what you need to do. Check your watch. If it's 3:17 a.m., turn this off right now. If not, ... look at your screen. Tilt it just slightly. See how the static clings to the edges, like it's trying to stay. Part 2 is already uploading. I didn't schedule it. I didn't edit it, but it's coming. The Crimson Shadow, a gallows-styled nightmare that will paint your dreams red. There runs blood. Tonight I pull back the velvet curtain to reveal a horror so lush, so cinematic in its cruelty, you'll swear you see it through a fog-filled lens. Is the story of the Crimson Shadow. Before we begin, adjust your screen's color. The reds should hurt. Light a candle, commit to this nightmare smack. Subscribe now before the terror takes hold. Act The First Brushstroke, Venice, 1978. Film critic Alberto Visconti entered the abandoned Teatro del Ombra at midnight, chasing rumors of a lost Gallo film so horrifying. Its director had supposedly gouged out his own eyes after editing. The projector still worked. The film had no title, only 9 minutes of footage. A masked figure gliding through candy-colored rooms. Victims frozen in tableaus of operatic agony, every kill reflected somewhere in the background when police found Visconti at dawn. He was still seated before the screen, his eyelids carefully removed. Most disturbing, his smile, and a fresh film canister clutched in his lap. Act 2. The color of madness. If your heart isn't racing yet, you're not truly watching. Pause now. Light that candle I mentioned, and commit to this nightmare with a like and subscribe. What comes next? Well, let's just say you'll never see red the same way again. Act 3. The Shadow's reflection. The Crimson Shadow doesn't kill like other monsters. It composes. Each victim becomes part of an endless gallows. Their terror captured in lurid technicolor, their final moments reflected in broken mirrors, their blood always forming. Something in the negative space film historian Dr. Lucia Marchesi discovered the pattern. It's editing reality, cutting together a masterpiece where we're all just, expendable actors. Her last voicemail. Act 4. Your part to play. You may already be part of its production. 1. Dreams of wandering through oversaturated rooms. Stage 2. Finding strange reflections that move a beat to slow. Stage 3. Marks like stage makeup, because here's the truth no one admits. The Crimson Shadow isn't hunting us. It's auditioning us. Final act. Curtain call. So tell me, darling, when did your nightmares get so ... aesthetic? Drop your most cinematic nightmare in the comments. And subscribe. because next week's feature presentation reveals what happens when the Crimson Shadow finds its perfect leading lady. The Crimson Shadow. Final Reel Act 4. The editor's cut. That knock at my door. It wasn't the police. It was the film canister, the one I'd locked in my vault sitting neatly on the welcome mat. Still warm. The label now read, Director's Cut. Your scenes added. I should have burned it. Instead, I threaded it through the first frames showed my apartment from impossible angles, ceiling corners, inside the refrigerator, behind my eyes. Then came the new scenes. Scene 10. The missing hour the film fills in my lost time. From last Tuesday shows me sleepwalking to the mirror. My reflection stays asleep as I walk away. The shadow's hands emerge from my mouth to adjust the camera. Scene 11. The audience. Every victim sits in a phantom theater. They applaud as the shadow peels their faces, like film stock. Empty seats reserve signs. For next editor, Act 5. The living film. The projector's light started bleeding. Not metaphorically, thick crimson streaks oozed down the wall, forming frames around my shadow. That's when I understood the revelation. Fragile di Sangue was never a movie, it's an organism that grows through screens. Each viewer becomes a new cell in its narrative body. My hands moved without me, loading the next reel, typing this script, preparing the final cut where ill epilogue, credits that never end. You're listening to this because the shadow needs a witness. Check your playback speed. Is it 1.7% slower than normal? That's the film growing. Soon you'll see your face in the corner of the frame. Soon you'll hear the scissors snipping beside your bed. Don't resist. Editing is love. The Crimson Shadow is final line. Always hiring. Title: A Smiling Man on Larkspur Lane, a true story that will haunt your nights. Have you ever woken up to find something in your room that shouldn't be there? We've all had that moment, sitting both upright in bed, heart pounding, convinced we saw something move in the darkness. Most times it's just our imagination. But what if it wasn't? What if something was really there, watching you sleep? Today I'm sharing an absolutely bone-chilling true story that will make you triple-check your locks tonight. This isn't just some campfire tale, it's documented in police reports, witnessed by multiple people, and has left investigators baffled for years. Before we begin, make sure you're watching this with the lights on. And if you've ever experienced something similar, I want to hear about it in the comments because you're not alone. Oh, and if you hear any strange noises while listening to this, well, let's just say I warned you. Now, let's begin the story that ruined one family's life forever. Part 1. The first sighting, the Miller family moved into 1427 Larkspur Lane on a sunny June afternoon. The perfect suburban home, white picket fence, sprawling backyard, and according to the realtor, absolutely no skeletons in the closet. How wrong they were. 12-year-old Emily Miller was the first to see him. She woke at exactly 3:17 a.m. to find a man standing at the foot of her bed. Not a shadow, not a trick of the light, a real flesh and blood man in a wrinkled gray suit. The worst part, he was smiling. Not a normal smile, not a friendly smile. A grin that stretched too wide, showing too many teeth like his face might split open at any moment. When Emily screamed, her parents came running, but the man was gone. The only evidence he'd been there at all were the muddy footprints leading from Emily's bed to her closet. Police found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, just a terrified little girl and two confused parents who tried to convince themselves it was just a nightmare. Until it happened again. Part 2. The neighbor's secret. The Millers soon learned they weren't the first family on Larkspur Lane to encounter the smiling man. Mrs. Henderson from across the street showed them her late husband's journal. The entry dated October 31st, 1992 read, "Saw him again last night. In Timmy's room this time. Still wearing that damn suit. Still smiling. The police won't listen." They never do. The next page contained a child-esque crayon drawing of a tall man with black eyes and a mouth stretching ear to ear. Scrawled beneath it in shaky handwriting, "He lives in the walls." Mrs. Henderson's voice dropped to a whisper. My Timmy stopped speaking after that night. The doctors called it selective mutism. But I know the truth. He's afraid if he talks, the smiling man will come back. Part 3. The footage determined to prove they weren't crazy. The Millers installed security cameras. For 2 weeks, nothing unusual appeared. Then, on the morning of July 17th, they checked the footage from overnight. At 3:17 a.m. exactly, every camera glitched simultaneously. When the feed returned, something had changed in Emily's room. Her stuffed animals, previously neatly arranged on a shelf, were now positioned in a perfect circle on the floor. In the center of the circle lay a single playing card, the Jack of Diamonds. But here's what still haunts me. When they zoomed in on the card, they realized the Jack's normally neutral expression had been altered. Someone had carefully drawn a grotesque, too wide smile stretching far beyond the boundaries of his face. Part 4. The previous owners. A trip to the county records office revealed why the realtor had been so eager to sell 1427 Larkspur Lane. The previous owners, the Wilkerson family, had left in the middle of the night 5 years prior. They abandoned all their possessions, including their car in the driveway. The police report noted no signs of foul play, but one officer's handwritten comment stood out. Whole family keeps saying he's in the walls over and over. Kids won't stop screaming about the smiling man. House gives me the creeps. The most disturbing discovery. This wasn't the first time the house had been suddenly abandoned. It happened in 1987, 1973, and 1954. Always in July, after reports of a tall man in an old-fashioned suit appearing in children's bedrooms. Part 5. The final night on July 31st, the Millers woke to the sound of Emily screaming. They burst into her room to find her pointing at the closet door, which stood slightly ajar. She shrieked. Mr. Miller threw open the closet to reveal ... nothing. Just clothes hanging neatly. But as he turned to comfort his daughter, he noticed something that turned his blood to ice. All of Emily's shoes had been rearranged. They were all pointing toward the closet. That was the last night the Millers spent in the house. They moved out the next morning, leaving everything behind. The new owners claim they haven't experienced anything unusual, but the neighbors tell a different story. They say that sometimes, late at night, you can see a shadow moving behind the upstairs windows of 1427 Larkspur Lane. It appears to be smiling. So what do you think really happened on Larkspur Lane? Was this a case of mass hysteria? A shared hallucination? Or is there something more sinister lurking in that house? Something that comes out every few years to torment a new family. Here's what chills me to the bone. This isn't an isolated case. Across the country, people report nearly identical experiences. Always a tall man in an old suit. Always that unnatural smile. Always appearing in bedrooms at exactly 3:17 a.m. If you've ever encountered the smiling man, or any other entity that shouldn't exist, I want to hear your story in the comments below. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because I share true horror stories like this every week. One last thing before you go. If you wake up tonight and feel like you're not alone in your room, if you see movement in the shadows, whatever you do, don't look at the closet. Tie to the shadow that follows you home. A true horror story. Have you ever felt like something was watching you from the shadows? That prickling sensation on the back of your neck when you're alone at night. What if I told you that feeling isn't just your imagination? In today's bone-chilling tale, we explore a true story so terrifying it will make you think twice about being alone in the dark. This account comes from multiple witnesses and police reports, making it one of the most disturbing cases of paranormal activity ever documented. Make sure you're watching this with the lights on, because by the end, you might start seeing figures in your peripheral vision too. And if you've ever experienced something similar, let me know in the comments below. Now, let's begin our descent into darkness. The story begins. Sarah had always been sensitive to the supernatural. As a child, she saw shadows moving where no shadows should be. Her parents dismissed it as an overactive imagination, but the visions never stopped. When she moved into her first apartment at age 23, Sarah thought she'd finally escaped the phenomena. The building was new, with no tragic history or reported hauntings for 6 peaceful months. Nothing unusual happened until the night of October 17th. Sarah woke at 3:17 a.m. to the sound of scratching. Not the random scuttling of mice, but deliberate, methodical scraping coming from inside her bedroom wall. As she lay frozen in bed, the scratching formed a distinct pattern. 3 long scrapes, then 2 short ones, over and over. Then came the whispering. Sarah ... quotes, not spoken aloud, but inside her mind, a voice like dry leaves scraping against concrete. She fled to her living room and called the police. When officers arrived, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no animals in the walls, just a terrified young woman clutching a baseball bat. The officer's report noted one odd detail: 3 parallel scratches on Sarah's bedroom wall, about 7 feet up, too high for her to reach. The marks looked years old, despite the building being newly constructed. The neighbor's story: 2 nights later, Sarah's neighbor Jake knocked on her door at 2:45 a.m. "Please tell me you hear that too," he begged, eyes wide with terror. The scratching had moved to the shared wall between their apartments. The same pattern. 3 long, 2 short. Jake, a skeptical engineer, had already checked for plumbing issues, electrical faults, even pests. Nothing explained the sounds coming from inside the walls. As they stood in Sarah's hallway, the temperature dropped suddenly. Their breath fogged in the air. Then came a new sound. A wet, guttural voice speaking from Jake's apartment. "Let ... me ... in." They ran the investigation. The building manager found nothing. No broken pipes, no animals, no signs of intruders. But residents began reporting nightmares of a tall, emaciated figure standing in their bedrooms. Always at 3:17 a.m., always watching. Security footage revealed something impossible. In the hallways, shadows moved against the light. They stretched when nothing cast them. They pooled in corners like spilled ink. The worst discovery came from the building's blueprints. The architect had committed suicide during construction. In his final journal entry, he wrote, "They showed me what lives in the walls. The thing that's been following me since childhood. It's in the angles, it's in the spaces between, and now it's in the building." The final night, Sarah was the last to leave. As she packed her final box, the power went out. Her phone died. The digital clock flashed 3:17. From every wall came the scratching. 3 long, 2 short. The bathroom mirror reflected movement behind her. A shape too tall for the room, arms too long, fingers too many. When the lights returned, Sarah was gone. Her phone was found recording. The final audio is barely audible beneath static. We're inside now, so what do you think? Could this just be mass hysteria, or is there something more sinister lurking in the spaces between our walls? If you've ever experienced anything like this, unexplained scratches, shadow figures, or voices from nowhere, share your story in the comments below. And if you want more terrifying true tales, don't forget to like and subscribe. But before you go, listen carefully. Do you hear that? Probably just the house settling. Probably